People who have worked at Goodwill or other thrift stores etc. and processed donations. What's the craziest thing you found? About 10 years ago I worked at a chain thrift store. One morning we got a phone call from this gentleman saying, rather calmly, "I think I accidentally donated my mom." Naturally I had no clue what that meant. Turns out the guy donated his mom's ashes, so he left his number in case we found it. The whole backroom went on a hunt because it had turned into this competition on who would find his mom first. We found her, phoned him and he came and picked her up. We thought that was the last of him until we were processing some donations a few months later and found his mom again. We phoned him because we still his contact information. His only reply was, "God damn it, he came and got her," and we never heard from him after that. I found a hidden World War I photo. Got in a crappy picture showing the different knots. It was a seaside town I was working in at the time, so I put the picture out cheap. Few days later it fell off the wall and the frame broke, so I brought it to the back to chuck it out. Found a big military group photo hidden behind. No idea why it was hidden. I worked for a non-profit for seniors that had a charity shop in it. People often just dropped off boxes of stuff they found in their parents' attic. One box had a bunch of letters. Some of them were from WWII when the man was stationed at Camp Carson in Colorado, and one of them must have been something they were keeping from an older generation. It was a 1914 letter proposing marriage. It was so romantic. He fell in love with her when they went ice skating together. He included an advertisement for some houses they could buy. They were really nice houses, selling for about $1,500. I bought her apartment, and it was not touched. Of course food and body were removed, with everything the previous owner had. His son or grandson emigrated and never came to take important items. So I found out that previous owner was the writer, patriot who played kind of important role in freeing our country from Soviet Union. There's a lot of storyline in briefcase full of letters that I found. I can't find information about his contribution online, but I kind of feel he just kept being secretive, guessing from the letters. So now I really don't know what to do with these letters. Are they even mine now? A few years ago, when there was an earthquake in Mexico City, many people were donating old clothes and stuff for people who were now homeless. I found a pair of pants that were as tall as me, and each leg could fit me inside of it. Edit: I don't live anywhere near Mexico City, but I was helping with the donations. I would have included a picture, but sadly, dumbass me decided those were not important, and I think I deleted them a few months ago. Here are some other things I found. A literal goddamn baby-sized suit, a single glove the size of my head, a shirt made of what seemed to be the same fabric that my couch has. I'm not talking about just the same pattern. It was the literal fabric, and a pair of red overalls that were around the same size as the pants, although they were not as big. My family had an inert 57mm tank gun shell which we used for a doorstop. That lasted until one of us kids brought it to school for show and tell with my mum's permission, because she was from Malaysia and her ingrained attitude to things like fire, machetes, and drowning was basic. Let's do this. I used to sweep the parking lot of a Goodwill and they would toss very interesting stuff in the dumpster. Hundreds of books, like really expensive ones. Leather-bound sets of classical works from the 1920s, early prints of sci-fi novels. Elle found a nice collectible copy of Dune recently. Family Bibles stacked thick with memories. Food dehydrators, paintings, collectible sports memorabilia, super valuable vintage tools and fixtures. Most of it is just stuff that nobody bothered checking the value on before chucking it out, and it's really sad. I found a destroyed collection of old Spalding baseball bats, the oldest being from the 30s. They were left in the dumpster, in standing water for days at least. It's sad to see things like that go, maybe because at one point someone loved them very much, and someone else decided that all the care it took to collect these treasures was a waste. Actually a reasonably common thing. Radium paint was used as a glow-in-the-dark material. Notably the radium triggers a phosphor to glow, not the radiation glowing itself. Similar to modern tritium tubes, and when used at the scale of a watch face, is actually pretty safe, because it is sealed within the watch and the radiation is of a low amount and safer form. It gets blocked by the watch itself. So the watches are marked as radioactive because they are, but shouldn't pose any big risk to humans, especially after 40 or 50 years of radioactive decay. Correction, the half-life of radium is 1600 years, so it will still be just as active, although of a small enough concentration as to be considered safe while sealed inside the watch, though it is worth being aware of it and following a few guidelines regarding storage and use that I won't get into here. They are somewhat notorious for the harm they cause the, typically female, people who painted them, done with little protection, and often doing things like licking the paintbrush to ensure an accurate point. A lot of them did end up suffering from the cumulative effects of the radiation. Love letters between two people from the late 1800s, multiple suicide letters, and one suicide tape, and many diaries. One diary specifically was written by a gay man going to med school in the 70s in San Fran. It spans 10 years, and has a first-person account of his feelings the day Harvey Milk was assassinated. Edit. Wow, I posted this right before I fell asleep last night, and woke up to tons of messages. I used to process donations at this thrift store, so I was seeing everything first. A lot of times when people die their family members will drop everything off, so we have to sort through and figure out what we can and cannot sell. Personal things like letters and diaries can't be sold, but at the same time they seem so special it's hard to throw them away. When I quit that job I took a giant box of all this personal memorabilia with me and had a bonfire where I read every single letter/note/diary and then burned them. I burned everything except the diary, letters, and suicide tape I mentioned. I have those all sitting in a drawer in my closet. I still sit down and read them sometimes. Another edit, the suicide tape was so disturbing I actually separated the tape from the tape recorder, so I couldn't easily play it anymore. It was an hour-long recording of a father saying goodbye to his 3 sons. I wonder how that tape even got donated in the first place. Like, was it an accident? Did the son it was given to die as well, and then whoever was donating didn't know what it was? Or did he never actually commit suicide, and over the years he forgot about it, leaving it to get mixed in with his other stuff that eventually got donated? A sword used by a Japanese officer in World War II. A suitcase full of adult toys. A coin collection worth nearly $2,000 accidentally left in a cupboard that was donated. A photo album of someone's wedding was donated amongst the belongings of the pastor that married the couple after he passed. The bride happened to be someone I went to school with. I tend to sort books at my store, so have found a few odd things in there. Cashier's bookmarks, about $150. A book with carved pages to conceal some jewels and gemstones. A few first edition books on agriculture from the 1800s. Lots of handwritten recipes, personal letters, and my favorite, a letter sent in the last mail. Delivery from Hong Kong before the British returned it to China, affixed with every stamp available at the time and mint versions of each of the stamps enclosed. A sword used by a Japanese officer in World War II. I once read that these were quite common. Like in the early days of eBay, people tried selling these for daft prices as antiques, and sure, if you're a weapons collector, they're probably notable objects. But as they were munitions manufactured for World War II, they were made in the thousands, and as a result, they are not worthless, but they are certainly not rare or valuable. So, I worked for a charity. We picked up old clothes etc. and sold them in bulk to a thrift chain. When we unloaded the truck, it was common to toss the store employees the bags, and they would catch them before stacking them on racks. Well, one time some idiot put a big chef's knife in a bag of clothes. The store employee caught the garbage bag of clothes, wrapped his arms around it as he caught it, and proceeded to stab himself in the arm. After that, the policies were changed. We had to put the bags at the edge of the truck for them to take off, because our insurance didn't cover us off the truck, and this didn't cover them in it. I had a mate who worked in one of the bigger Lifeline stores in Australia. A woman came into the store with 5 large clear plastic storage boxes and asked to donate them. He looked inside of the boxes, and it was thousands of beautifully hand-painted Warhammer pieces. He was shocked and asked her why. They were her son's, and she couldn't keep them in the house anymore since his death. My friend said he couldn't accept the donation. He said the whole collection was worth a lot of money. She had no idea He asked her for all her details and asked if he could try to sell it for her. She agreed. After his shift he went home and took photos of everything and posted it online in an Australian Warhammer forum. Within a couple of weeks everything was sold. He called her and she met him at the store. He told her he had sold it to collectors all around Australia who loved her son's work. He handed her roughly $12,000. She cried. He cried. She offered him half. He said no. She told him she would donate his half to a suicide charity in her son's name and his name. He said it was the best thing he had ever done in his life. I work at a thrift store as a donation handler. Gnarliest thing I had seen was a literal stack of mattresses left overnight during off hours. They were disgusting, crawling with bugs, and riddled in stains of various shades and hues. Nope, the fat of that. Called my manager, and they brought a forklift out to take them to the trash compactor. Just the other day we had a donor drop off a small crate, like a milk crate kind of thing, chock full of hentai. Just today I found a small, marble one-hitter pipe at the bottom of the donation bin.